It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
So if you are someone who wants to do a side hustle, whether it be a gig economy thing or whether it be content creation, let's talk about the ways to do it right and the things that you need to think about. And here's sort of the very first one. You're still trading some portion of your time for money. So you better make sure you know what you're doing. You better make sure that you've made it purposeful as to the reason why you're pursuing this side hustle.
Yeah, we say this advice all the time is that begin with the end in mind, the highly effective habits, you got to know that stuff. And that's why, so when you go into a side hustle, be purposeful, exactly what Bo said. If you're trying to pay off debt, go ahead and create a plan so you know how much am I allocating? How much do I have to work? If you're trying to use this, you guys hear us talk about 88 times over and the power of if you can start saving and investing in your 20s, you can turbocharge and fast track your future success. Maybe you're side hustling to give you a head start so your 50-year-old self can retire that much sooner. These are the things you need to have a game plan for how to maximize the opportunity.
And here's what's wild. A little bit can go a long way. If you are someone and you did a side hustle, you said, I'm just going to use this to max out my Roth IRA. So I'm going to invest $500 per month starting right now at age 30. And I'm just going to do some sort of side hustle to be able to save $500 a month into my Roth all the way until I get to 65. That small endeavor, that little bit of savings, that $500 a month from 30 to 65, if you can earn on average 8% on your investments, can turn into almost $1.2 million. I'm going to say that a little bit differently. The side hustle that you might start doing, if you apply those dollars appropriately, could be seven-figure wealth when you get to retirement, when you get to financial independence.
And that's why we talk about addictive behaviors that are actually rewarding, and saving and investing is one of them. I know that a side hustle more than likely is only going to be at most a 3 to 5 year commitment. But hopefully, if you could get into the habit of saving and investing, especially into your Roth so it's tax-free, $500 a month, you're not going to put that aside once you start getting traction and you see that you're having success. A little bit really can turn into that great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
Now, you said something interesting right there, Brian, and we were talking a little bit about this in show prep. You said that most side hustles, it's kind of like this temporary thing, right? Yeah. And so it's important that you know your why before you go into it. Is this side hustle something that I'm using to bridge a gap for 3, 5, 7, 10 years? Or is there a chance this side hustle, this thing that I'm doing on the side, could turn into something different? And if there is a chance that it could turn into something different, there's a different level of thought process as it goes.
Well, I think your mindset has to be different. Look, when I started my first company in 2002, I did prepare tax returns in the background. I wanted to be a financial planner, but my skill set that would pay the bills initially was preparing tax returns because I could go get tax returns easily. Building a financial planning business was much more aspirational at the time. So there's nothing wrong with having a side hustle of something. Maybe you're an artist, whether it's a musician or somebody who can create digital art and other things. And that's what you'd actually love to do. So you could combine your passion, but also how you get paid. That doesn't typically start from day one. You have to typically build a brand. You have to build a following. You have to build people who want your talent to be what pays the bills. There is nothing wrong with transitioning side hustle, but side hustle that is the passion that you aspire to do full time. But you have to have a different mindset in the fact that all the other side hustles we talked about, Bo, were kind of to help you bridge a moment in time that you needed to cover. You needed to pay down debt. You need to start investing. When you're side hustling that will hopefully turn this into a full-time endeavor, there are no shortcuts for success on time. So it needs to consume you. This is not a hack to save time. This is a hack to where you get to do your passion full time. So fully expect you're going to have to just let this consume you. I'm talking 60 hours a week or more potentially, because you're probably working still a full-time job. Then every other waking hour, you're in the trenches of trying to grow this side hustle. Focus on that. Go with the passion, because success has to be inevitable, and the only way you can do that is to throw everything at it.
Now, it's interesting, though. You do have to recognize that there's a cost associated with this. Like you and I talk about this, Brian. You know, we do this show, and originally it started as, I'm going to call it not really a side hustle, but more of a hobby for you. There wasn't this grand idea that it was going to turn into this big business type thing. It was just a mechanism for you to educate the masses. It was something you wanted to share good information with people out there. But as it started to gain traction and as it started to have some success, we had to start adjusting the things that we do on sort of an everyday or month-to-month basis. Now, you and I have kind of like this, you know, spit on our hands and shake. When we travel, we try not to travel on Tuesdays because we know we have the show coming up, and we have to make sure that we block our calendar so that we can prepare to be able to do this. So you need to understand when you pursue a side hustle, when you pursue this passive income, there is something that you are likely giving up. And the financial term for that is opportunity cost. You need to understand the value of the alternative that you are giving up and make sure that's worthwhile. I have all kinds of buddies, Brian, who they'll come up with this, hey, I'm going to start I got this side hustle. I'm going to start flipping golf carts or whatever the thing is. And I'm like, all right, cool. And he's like, man, I spent the last month and I just flipped my first one. I made $250. I'm like, oh, you made $150 in a month of work. Was that the best you? Is that? So you really need to understand the cost that goes into this endeavor that you're going to pursue.